Here. Is this thing on? Well, here's hoping.
Good evening, everyone. Couple more minutes. Yeah. Hello, testing. Just testing the live stream, making sure it's working. Come on, no worries. Thanks for joining. All right, well, I'm going to get this kicked off. This is this semester's Independent Senior Projects presentation. So excited to hear from Selena and Skylar. These are opportunities in which our seniors get a chance to pursue some area of interest outside of the curriculum that we offer here at Westover. And so we are thrilled to have these presentations this evening, and Selena is going to kick us off. So Selena, welcome on up.
Thank you. Today, my independent senior project is based on the butterfly effect and how it can affect us in society. And if you brought your water with you, I challenge you to take a sip of your water every time I say the words butterfly, chaos, or theory, as that will be happening a lot today. Yeah, we're good. Can you do next slide back? Thank you. So Edward Lorenz, who is credited as of the butterfly effect, was born in 1917 in our home state of Connecticut. And he considered himself an avid weather fan. So he spent most of his time studying at Dartmouth and Harvard. He eventually his studies during World War II for a course at MIT to aid in weather forecasting for the Army. And later on in life, Lorenz became a research scientist to study the theory of climate, and soon after the dynamics of chaos, which aided in the discovery of the butterfly effect. So he's mostly credited as a mathematician who aided and played a role in developing many theories that are both physics and math related. Next slide. So the butterfly effect was first actually coined in 1987 from Lorenz's talk, "Does a flap of a butterfly's wing in Brazil set off a tornado in Texas?" So as Edward Lorenz's work was originally focused on understanding climate, the real butterfly effect addresses our ability to simulate climate convergence with increasing model resolution. So Lorenz began to understand the butterfly effect after running multiple rounds of the same data through a nonlinear model and coming to very different conclusions at the end. So the only difference between these tests was how he rounded or truncated the numbers. And so this is a very real life example when you're in a math class and everyone is doing the same problem with the same steps and getting very different numbers. And then there's the little bit of chaos where everyone's wondering where did they go wrong and why is the answer wrong. And so this is usually because we rounded our numbers slightly differently. Some people used a whole number, some people used half the number. And this is much like Lorenz. And it can actually be found in the graph to the right where they both start off at the same point but end at slightly different points. Next slide. So the butterfly effect is the theory known by the statement that a butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil can create a hurricane in Texas, which essentially just says weather patterns are sensitive to very tiny disturbances, which is seen in the image in the last slide. So in modern day society, the butterfly effect has grown to simply mean that any small decision we make in our lives may have a bigger impact later in our lives. So the theory primarily relies on chaos and all of the uncertainty that may come with life. Next slide. And so chaos theory is a set of mathematical statements that can help explore the world around us. So according to many scientists, defining chaos is very complicated. It is pure randomness. As Lorenz quotes in his book, chaos is a random sequence of events in which anything that can ever happen can happen next, which makes plenty of sense. Chaos is when many different things may happen next, or absolutely none of them may happen. And essentially, chaos behaves purely according to chance, even when it can be determined by a law. Next slide. Or there's actually the video deck, if you want to play that first. Yeah, there's a link. That's my bad, but you don't need the audio or anything. Yeah. Thank you, Dak. And so this double pendulum simulation is also a representation of chaos. The two pendulums start off looking exactly the same, but they quickly follow two very different courses across the screen. And so the very tiny differences between the pendulums cause huge effects on the whole system's future. And a pretty picture at the end, so it's fun to look at. Thank you, Doc. The Lorentz attractor, which is also known as the Lorentz butterfly, is generated by a set of differential equations which model a simple system of convection flow, which is the motion induced by heat. And this is where the theory got the name the butterfly effect. And so the Lorentz system is deterministic, which means if you know the exact starting values of your variables, then in theory you can determine their future values as they change with time. And so Lorentz demonstrated that if you begin this model by choosing values for x, y, and z, and then do it again with just slightly different values of x, y, and z, then you will quickly arrive at very different results. In real life, you can never know the exact value of any physical measurement, although you can get really close. Like imagine you were trying to get the temperature of an airport exactly at 3:15 a.m. It's going to be really hard. And so this is also called chaos, and its implications are far-reaching, especially in the field of weather prediction. And so when it comes to the butterfly effect in everyday life, some very literal examples can include a pinball machine. And I know that when I play with a pinball machine, it's just a game of how fast I can hit the ball away from the center of the end game, which includes a lot of just chaotic button pressing and absolutely no predictability. And then, of course, the lottery, which we all know is just a big game of chance. You never know what you're going to get. And then business opportunities and social life. If you did not attend a certain business conference, you may not have had a conversation with someone which made your boss think to give you a promotion. Or if you came to work even if you were tired and lazy, you may have missed a day where you were going to get a raise. And the same applies to social life. If you did not go out with your friends that day, you may not have seen that really cute person at the mall. And if you did go out with your friends, maybe you made a new friend or met someone that you would not have usually. And that all comes from chaos and the butterfly effect and not knowing what may happen in life. And of course, what's an ISP without some surprising facts? And so, as I mentioned before, the butterfly effect was created because of the weather. And of course, we live in New England, where the weather is prone to changing in literally minutes. So think back to all the times when we were supposed to just get like a light little flurry of snow, and then we end up snowed in for days, and you can't go anywhere. And then also think of when you would expect school to close in the morning, and you were still going to class at 8 a.m. And so, it's just, again, more chaos. And what also surprised me was that the human heart relies on chaos and its rhythm. And so our heart rate needs to change rapidly to ensure the needed amount of blood is being pumped at all times, especially during strenuous activities. And so all of these everyday things that are pictured relies on chaos and are unpredictable to a certain degree. And next slide. So the butterfly effect is an all-in-all an unpredictable theory that can be found in many aspects of life. It can be calculated through very complex equations, although due to the chaos involved, it may never be fully understood. I first became interested in the butterfly effect after wondering why certain events took place in life that I had no control over. And after spending the past few months studying the butterfly effect, I have come to learn that even though we do not always have control over why things happen in our lives, the result can still be fascinating. Although I do not control how my chaotic heart may pump, it still keeps me alive every day. I can't control the weather, as unfortunate as that is, especially looking at this weekend, but I still get to appreciate the random rain showers and the rainbows that come after it. The butterfly effect and the chaos behind it is something that I have learned to no longer fear, as the control over my life I lose to it can help me appreciate other aspects of life that I may not see at first glance. And of course, I enjoy those comics, the butterfly as evil as it may seem. And then last slide is just the sources that I used. Thank you for listening. I don't know if people have questions, but
I'm just curious, what was really the thing that got you hooked on this as a child?
I know that kind of growing up, one thing that my parents always said to me was that And so growing up as a child and hearing that and then not being able to like picture that reason was kind of like a scary thought to me. And so of course just Googling like why does things happen, and then just stumbling upon the butterfly effect to it, and you're just uncertain and it just relies on pure chaos.
Anything unexpected that you learned doing this research?
I think it was unexpected, kind of how much I actually like go through it. Kind of is just because it like can be part of the butterfly effect, or some of it just may just be completely like. And so like unexpected to see how much like fun you can have while playing with it. So. Thank you.
All right, Skylar, you're up.
Hello. So I actually just wanted to share this very quick clip before I start talking.
Hello, I am Skylar Gula. I am a new senior at Westover, and I decided for this semester to work on a independent senior project to answer the final question of what Westover policies and practices have contributed to the inequity people of color have voiced, and ultimately, how do we fix this issue? This is my documentary. I hope you enjoy.
So, that is just the introduction, but as you heard, the question that I was hoping to answer with my ISP is what Westover policies and practices have contributed to the inequity people of color have voiced, and how do we fix this issue? To go about this process, I actually set up interviews with multiple different alum, all across the U.S., and I think I actually was able to get an international speaker. But I was able to interview all of them, and I combined all of the interviews into one documentary. The final documentary is about an hour and 15 minutes, which we do not have all that much time to present today. But I do hope to present that on Friday, and I did want to share a little clip and a little snippet. And the snippet that will be, the question that will be answered in the snippet is, do you feel that your cultural heritage was celebrated at Westover? And this is that snippet.
Why that may not have been celebrated at Westover. I don't know that my specific cultural heritage has been celebrated. So I come from a Caribbean background. My family is Jamaican. And as a child of Jamaican people, like Jamaicans are very proud and very like loud about being proud. But in my experience, not just in Westover, but navigating just like PWIs, or what people call like private white institutions, I find that blackness is seen as a monolith. So it's kind of like, you're black, we don't have any additional questions. And I didn't really feel like sharing too much beyond like the individuals who I would meet and express interest, because it was kind of assumed that blackness is a monolith. And just very off the cuff comments when sharing things like, oh yeah, like I'm Jamaican. Oh, do you smoke? Does your family have dreads? So it's having to, getting that kind of feedback just upon initial introduction. It doesn't feel like a very inviting space where explaining more about my culture is going to be respected. And not to say that that would have happened, but just teasing it, testing that out, I can see what the response is. And I thought it was easier to just opt not to share that aspect.
Yeah, I feel like as a minority, if you were a minority, you were kind of just grouped into this one pool of you're all minorities. There was only like one cultural group when we were there, and they did do an event, but again, it was like you're celebrating this mishmash of cultures, and it didn't really make sense, and it wasn't planned or executed really well. And so I feel like it was just like there was a little bit of a separation when it came to students of color and students who aren't. And it was just not like bad tension, I don't want to say, but it was just, it was kind of like you're grouped together with that one group.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, that could be stopped right there. But that was the snippet that I wanted to show. And the full documentary will be displayed Friday, I believe at 5 o'clock, in the student commons. So if you're interested, please come and see the full documentary then. I also would like to give so much thanks for everyone who has helped this process. It's been a lot, and that includes people that took B-roll for me, people that were interviewed, people that made this possible. So thank you all so much.
Does anybody have any questions for Skylar?
Hello.
So, what did anything in particular inspire your starting of this project?
Yes. So I personally have always been to PWIs, and that's predominantly white institution. And with that being said, I felt that I, for one, did not feel that my voice was heard. And I think coming to Westover and seeing that there is an opportunity and there's a lot more people of color that would like their voices to be heard, I most definitely wanted to make that a priority and wanted a space where a lot of different experiences and a lot of voices can be heard.
Skylar, it's Mary. Hi. What did you learn about how to make a documentary? Can you speak to a little bit about the research you did, for how to interview, or some of the movies that you watched to get inspired for preparation to make your documentary?
Yes. I actually, at the beginning of this process, was not a big documentary lover. But I think Dante was really able to show me and convince me that it's because I wasn't watching what I wanted to watch. With that being said, I was able to watch 1 or 2 documentaries per week, and most of those documentaries focused on people of color, so that was obviously something that I was interested in watching. And because I was able to watch those, it really helped me see what I would like to incorporate in my documentary and the clarity of it.
Can you talk about some of your takeaways from the work that you did? And how we might change Westover for the better?
Yes. So I think my last few questions in my documentary actually speak on this topic. But takeaways would mostly just be, I don't want to spoil it, but there is quite a few different advice aspects in which Westover can choose what they would like to do with that. But it is definitely something that could be useful for the future to come. And I am so glad I was able to be a part of that. A few of those advice things would be more faculty of color, which is being worked on, a lot of things that are being worked on currently, and a few other suggestions as well.
So much.
Of course. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Skylar and Selena. This was wonderful. And big shout out for people to come to the 5 o'clock showing on Friday. Did I get that right? So can't wait to see it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. And have a wonderful night.